We can start. Thank you, everybody, for showing up, for having accepted our invitation for this webinar of the World Association for Buiatrics. As you know, we started with the initiative of the webinar almost 2 years ago now. It's just to allow us to know each other and to give the possibility to our members, so the association member of the WAB. You all know that the member of the association are a local association, local Buiatric or veterinary association, so we don't have a single person as a members, and just to give them the possibility of introducing themselves and also to introduce the context, the Buiatric context where they work. And then additionally to the presentation of the association, we have started also to include, let's say, a scientific part. This is also because we have sometimes some outbreaks, we have some global problem, we have outbreaks of diseases, and therefore this is something that we like also to discuss and to present, because many, of course, different parts of the world have a different type of disease, different problems, but it is always very good to know what happened and what are the problem in the other part of the world. As the today webinar is dominated by Brazilians, I will give immediately the floor to Ricardo, that is also Brazilian, and as you know, you probably know, it will take over the presidency of the World Buiatric Association during the next Congress in Istanbul. Therefore, he is now the so-called president-elect, and he will be president, definitely president in Istanbul in September 2026. And before starting, I just would like, allow me to do this, to sympathize with all the colleagues that during this so bad period for the world are somehow affected by the different conflicts that are in the world. Therefore, wherever they are, whatever the reason, we don't discuss on the reasons. It is not, it is not our goal. But I would like to sympathize with all the pediatricians that somehow are affected by this bad situation. So, Ricardo, the floor is yours. You are in charge of introducing our eminent speakers. Therefore, I switch off, I mute my microphone, and I give you the floor. Thank you.
Grazie, Arcangelo. My president, I'm very happy to say hello to the Kalina and the Luciana. It's two very important girls in Brazil. But I chose these two very important persons to represent the Brazil, because I'm understanding the strongest of the Brazil importance in the WAB. But it's very important to other persons say about the War Association. Kalina and Luciana, please talk about your researches about the associations. You are welcome to the World Buiatric Associations. Good presentations.
Thank you. Can you all hear me well? Right? Okay, so
yes, it's fine.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, good evening from different parts of the world. Good. It's a great honor to be here today, representing the Brazilian Buiatrics Association on this important global stage. I was very honored when I got the invitation, and I would like to start thanking Dr. Ricardo Jordao, Brazil's representative to the WAB, for his kind invitation. Also, Dr. Arcangelo Gentili, president of the World Association for Buiatrics, and Dr. Peter Heinberg. Am I right? I hope I am.
Yes, that's right.
Its secretary. And to all of you, I would like to salute Dr. Da Costa, Luciana. So it's very good to be here. And I'd like to say hello to all of you who are joining us here from around the world. I am currently a lecturer of the Federal University of Sergipe, and I serve as well as vice president for the Alagoas and Sergipe Buiatrics Association, more known as BUIASE. So today I would love to share a little bit of what we've been building over here in Brazil, a country where Buiatrics isn't just a science, it really, really talks about our national identity. So let's share. My slide? Okay, I'm sorry. I think I got a delay over there. So in Brazil, we do have more cows than people. So it would be, statistically speaking, we would be very comfortable saying that if you're in a room with 10 people, 7 other people are going to be chewing cud or ruminating by your side. Not human beings, but living beings. So with that expressive numbers, we do have some data, important data to share, because Brazil's role in global livestock production is of great importance. And as you can see here on this graphic, is my screen, are the people here on the side of my screen covering the graphics or the images for you or not?
No, that's fine.
No, it's perfect.
No,
Right.
it's perfect.
It's okay? Okay. I'm just gonna put it. So this is our gross production, value for Brazil's main cultures nowadays, agricultural and livestock sector. As you can see, the darker green bar represents 2024, and the lighter green bar 2023. So as you can see here, for beef production, it's our second greatest product produced in the country, and bovine milk, so our dairy milk, our dairy sector ranks up in the 5th place. And this is not only to say, although Brazil is second larger in production, as we can see here, as we just saw, it is first in exports. So it's huge, and it adds up, along with the United States and European Union, adds up to about almost half of the world's beef production, for example, just to give a little bit of context. So this is really significant and really expressive, and we should and must, if I may, be discussing and talking and doing research on how to do this in a more clean, sustainable, but as well productive way. Because from what we've seen from the perspectives, we probably are going to be having to double the production, but we have, on the other hand, that kind of a worry about how are we going to do this in a sustainable and cleaner way at least. So yes, it is very important that we discuss the Buiatrics, the veterinary work in Buiatrics, therefore, is crucial, is very important, and not only locally here in Brazil, but globally. So working in Brazil means facing loads of different realities, differences, not only in cultural, not only climately, speaking, but as well as soil production, and that makes us have a lot of differences cross country when it comes to production systems. So just to give a little bit of context, Brazil has 26 states plus 1 federal district. And again, just for a bit of perspective, the United Kingdom would fit only in São Paulo, for instance. Another great way of giving some perspective is Minas Gerais, which is our greatest milk producer, can be compared in terms of territory to Spain, all of the country. And Mato Grosso, which is our beef production leader, is a little smaller than Germany. So this is just to say that having a country with that continental territory size gives us a huge challenge to face when it comes to trying to make a good work in Buiatrics and all of that. So we have, for instance, equatorial climate, which is hot all year round with constant rainfall. This is the region that, as we know, as the rainforest, Amazonian forest, really, which we share with Colombia and Peru, really humid. Then we have still some equatorial climate, but a little hotter, with a good division between, with a little division, a little dry season with it. Then we have here on orange, tropical climate with dry season and rainy season as well, really differentiated. And then up here, northeast, and with a little bit of the north in red. It's not in red by chance. It's because this is really hot up here. And we actually don't even speak about summer and winter. We speak about dry season and rainy season, wet season. As for now, we are on our winter, and I'd say that on as you know, not literally, but winter for us is just a rainy season. And then we have tropical climate with the highlands, very humid subtropical climate here on the south, which can get really cold. So this brings loads of challenge for us because of that vast geography and diverse climate. And that as well, consequently, that ends up bringing us a lot of different production systems at different regions. So we do have to, there's not a research done here at the South, for example, that can work in the North or Northeast. So we do have to have a lot of research groups, strong research groups, and not only research groups, but we have to work really closely with government and all that to get to actually get the job done when it comes to production systems and our Buiatrics work. So before I keep on, I would like just to give a little hint on our history on our Brazilian Buiatrics. So our association, Brazilian Buiatrics Association, was founded on August 1980, and this is the document and the first, the transcript from the foundation. And then on the next year, the following year, we had our first Brazilian Congress of Buiatrics in 1981, held along with the fourth Latin American Congress of Buiatrics. And then we stayed with limited activity until 1996. And it was then in one of our veterinary medicine congresses that a committee for the restructuring of the Brazilian Association of Buiatrics was created. And from 1999 onwards, the Brazilian Congresses of Buiatrics have been held uninterruptedly on a biennial basis, always on odd years. So on 2023, we had our 14th Buiatrics Congress in Pernambuco, and this year we are hosting the Brazilian Buiatrics Congress on Ceará this year, 2025. But coming back, so from 1999, our Brazilian Congresses have been held from that on a biennial basis. And the presidency of our national association rotates according to the host state association. Since Brazil has loads of states and all that, every year that we have a Brazilian Congress, on that Brazilian Congress, we establish where the next Brazilian, or where actually the two next Brazilian Congresses are going to be held on. And therefore, the regional association where the Brazilian Congress is going to be held on becomes the national association, the Brazilian Association for Buiatrics. And then one important thing to mention as well is that on 2020, we were living the pandemics, and so we had our first remote Buiatrics, Brazilian Buiatrics Association meeting, which was held along with 71 Buiatrists from 18 different Brazilian states present to discuss the future of Buiatrics. And it was really interesting. I was on that meeting as well. Dr. Ricardo was as well. We were up for giving a little bit of a fresh air and to try to, restart. Every now and then, I think every institution needs that, that stamina. And this meeting really was held for that purpose. And with that restriction, all the restrictions we had on 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemics, the Brazilian Association of Buiatrics celebrated its 40th anniversary remotely, but we held online our webinar, our 40th year anniversary webinar with great Buiatrics, with great talks, and it was really, really, all the regional associations came along, and we really held hands on that one. And from that movement on, what we felt is that a lot of regional associations that were quiescent, I don't know how to say this, that were, on standby, if I may say, came back alive, and now we are in a, if I may say, we are in a great moment. And within this year, 2020, we also gave life to the Brazilian Association for Buiatrics gave life to the Brazilian Journal of Buiatrics, which was originally created with the aim of handing out 4 volumes on the first 2 years, and then we aim to start working with it more intensively. But it's been really nice issues, and we are really encouraged by that as well. So our actual formation for Brazilian Buiatrics, our current host for the National Congress is going to be the Buiatrics Association of Ceará. So currently, our president for the Brazilian Buiatrics Association is Dr. Koloviskis, and our vice president is Dr. Daniel, and along with Dr. Kayla Lemos and everybody from the Buiatrics of Ceará. And our next Congress, which I'm going to show a little bit further on, is going to be held in Fortaleza, which is the capital of Ceará. So nowadays, this is our current situation. We have these associations already registered and working with work in progress. From these, not all the 26 states have representation right now, but we're almost there. And from these that have already associations, the association from Mato Grosso, from Minas Gerais, from Rio de Janeiro, and from the federal district are in, except as for right now, as are requalifying. They've been a little bit on standby and are coming back to work now. So, and this was all due to some work that has been done in the last some efforts that has been done in the last 4 years of work for the Brazilian Buiatrics. Some current actions that are being held from the Association for Buiatrics of Ceará, which is our Brazilian Buiatrics Association right now, is the encouraging, of course, as I just mentioned, the requalification of the associations already formed and that are somewhat in a standby mode. A stimulation for the creation of new regional Buiatrics associations. We are also working on the regularization of the Brazilian Association of Buiatrics. We do have our statute, we do have our registrations all nicely done, but we came up to the conclusion after some reunions and some meetings that we have to update our statute and we have to update some of our procedures of operation. So we have been discussing all that and also discussing the creation with the turning of the Brazilian Association of Buiatrics to legal, having its own legal personality instead of just changing from one regional to another, because this does give some challenges on that transition from one state to another. We have been currently also in a huge mobilization to confront the illegal practice of veterinary medicine. Since we are a huge country, we do have some figures that sometimes try to act like Buiatrics, like veterinary practitioners, and we have been working on that front as well. And also, we have been mobilizing to debate the prohibition of veterinary courses in distance learning format, which is something that is really totally contrary to what we think is possible and what we think is safe and ethical. So the Buiatrics has been working on that as well. And also, of course, strengthening our national health programs and working on local events, because those local events, light up a little fire on all those different country edges that Brazil have. And of course, we have to mention our 15th Brazilian Buiatrics Congress, We are working hardly on that. All the regional associations are working hard along with the association, the Brazilian Association, Buiatrics Association. And we are going to have over 70 speakers, 5 roundtables, scientific work presentations. This is going to, in our this year's Brazilian Congress, we are going to be holding our first national meeting of Buiatrics study groups and academic societies, as we found that it's really important to, you know, try to bring Buiatrics closer together since the nursery, since when they are still students, and students have been living up for that simulation. So it's been really nice, that kind of work. And the first Women in Buiatrics meeting also is going to be held on our National Congress this year. So as I told you, we have loads of challenges to face, because we can easily come from this on one side of the country to this. And aside from what it may appear, this has its challenges and it has its goods, and this does as well. So the Buiatrics do a lot of work on that. And the unequal access to continuing education is one of the fronts that we mostly try to encounter, that we do encounter, and that we try to trespass. One other thing that it's a challenge, but we have been working on, is trying to work with different sources of funding and engagement from different agencies and institutions. So we have seen loads of opportunity for growth, especially because of the national expansion. Our productions have been expanding on a crescent. It's been growing each year. We have been working on the engagement of youth and women, and we have been having great results on that. We have been seeing that young Buiatrics are coming up with loads of energy, loads of good thinking, loads of good ideas. They have been really participating on the events, on the courses, and on continuing educational courses and programs. And also with the women's engagement, which is something that we here in Brazil felt that was falling short. That when you see the association, Buiatrics associations, they are mostly made up by men, and we have loads of Buiatric women on the field doing some great job and with some great ideas and some great research results, and we have to have that representation. And so Brazilian Buiatrics have been working closely with that, and so far, so good. So our vision of the future aims primarily working on a united and recognized Brazilian Buiatrics Association, also with full national coverage, working on those, where all those regional associations come together and build them strong, and also our stronger global presence and collaboration, which is very important. And on that front, I thank you once again for the opportunity. So it's great to have research and outreach cooperations, global support for local efforts that may result in findings that can solve global challenges. And of course, at some point, hosting future international events. So I thank you all for the attention. This is my my contacts. This is the Instagram for the association, the Brazilian Association for Buiatrics. If you scan this QR code, it leads up to our website for the Brazilian Congress of Buiatrics that's going to be held in Fortaleza, Ceará, in October. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. I am up for some chat to discuss.
Yes, Ricardo, if you, I think we may have some time for the question.
We have a question of the John Meat. John Meat mentioned to clarify, Kalina, about the learnings for vets in Brazil. The same to Soviet. If you can, John, open your mic to explain your questions, but I don't know if you understand.
Yes, Ricardo, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Super. Kalina, you mentioned distant learning for vets, and I know nothing about Brazil, but you appeared to say that you were discouraging it, or did I misunderstand you?
Yes, but let me elaborate on that. Recently, we have had well, here in Brazil, differently from other places in the world, we have loads and loads of veterinary courses that have been created, and so people, some private institutions are encouraging veterinary courses to be held in a distant mode from beginning to end. You know, so we have been disencouraging that fully 100% online mode course, but not, I mean, a hybrid mode, I think would be welcome. But, you know, practices, all that, all the different all the different means of acting, of practicing that a veterinary can do. I mean, it's not possible for you to be qualified in a fully online course. So that's what we've been discouraging, not a hybrid way of teaching and learning. I don't know if I made myself clear. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. I think your unique geographical distances make your circumstances very different, perhaps, from Europe.
Yes.
So I understand after your talk.
Yes, and private courses.
Sorry, how many teaching hours has such course?
How many what? I'm sorry.
How many teaching hours is included in such course?
Oh my God. In total?
Yes.
Because we have 5 years.
Yes.
The total of our course is 5 years on an integral mode. But
okay, 5 years, normal course.
Yeah, I don't remember in hours. How many hours would that be? I don't know if there's anyone there that can help me, but it's 5 years.
Okay, thanks.
And how many years is over there? I'm sorry, Doctor.
In Poland, we have 11 semesters.
Yeah. Okay.
11, 5.5.
Yeah. And that's it.
Ricardo, there was another question from John.
Yes,
on research.
John can explain about your question about the gender and the number of the vets in the...
Yeah, it was just to get an idea of the scale of Buiatrics in Brazil, how many vets there are in practice, and whether there's more male or female in practice currently.
In practice currently, I am so sorry, I'm not going to have the numbers to give to you, but I can say that up until in the last decade, we have been having a huge change on that on that ratio, and women have been rising as field practitioners, I mean, greatly. We are not, we still do not have more women than men on the field, but we are on a rise on that front.
The same as internationally, I think. Then.
Yeah. I think it's as women became, as with the women liberation and all, and occupying all kinds of spaces, I think that's kind of a behavior worldwide, right? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Should I stop sharing my screen? I am eager to see all of you, but
Yes.
should I stop sharing?
Yeah.
What do you think, Arcangelo? You can then pass to another presentation and send the questions to Kalina, and
Yes, we can continue with the next presentation, and eventually some other question can be put at the end of the.
Yes.
I was wondering. So John, the John question raised in me a potential topic for the future. I don't know whether it has sense or not, but you know the teaching of Buiatrics in our university, perhaps more in Europe than in other countries, I don't know, but it is becoming a challenge for many reasons: the cost, the necessity of having animals at the university, so the practicing activities. Therefore, I think that perhaps in the future we can launch one webinar on this issue. I don't know. So, John, perhaps you can help me in this. What do you think?
Yes, Arcangelo, I was multitasking here, so I didn't fully hear what you were saying. But
No,
yes,
no.
we can follow up. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. Anyway, now I think so, Ricardo. I think we can move.
Yes.
If you introduce the next speaker, there's also Brazilian.
This is the main attraction of the webinar, is to have the contact with the different researchers and the professors. It's good to do this. Is only to create a word network of the Buiatrics. Is good for this. Now, this is the Dr. Da Costa, works in USA, but your heart is in Brazil. But talk about your important research about the avian flu, or only the virus in the cattle. Is very strange a topic, but Luciana can, please.
Well, thank you so much. Can you guys see my screen and hear me well? I
Yeah,
hope.
all
Okay,
fine.
great. So hello to everybody, and I echo what Galicia was. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for Dr. Jordao to invited me, and for the World Association for having me on this platform as well. So it is really a pleasure. I'm an associate professor here at Ohio State University, and as Dr. Jordao said, I am Brazilian and my heart is Brazilian, so that's why I'm representative, and I guess I'm hoping that I will be well representative for the whole community that we have in Brazil. So with that, I do have an extension and a teaching and a research appointment on my appointment here in the Department of Veterinary Preventive Medicine. So since the beginning, I always want to have prevention rather than curing disease. So that was leading me to be at the vet preventive medicine role since the beginning of my career. The topic that we chose to be talking today is something that is very unique to the US from the last year to today, and it is the H5N1 affecting cattle in the US. Okay, so as an overview, I will try to do like a disease recognition, talk a little bit about transmission, economic impact, the food insecurity, public health risk, control measures, and challenges. I will try to that and 30 minutes, so we have more time for us to talk. But as a good Brazilian, I might be extending a little bit because we talk a little bit more. But this is something that when we are talking about H5N1, everybody thinks about migratory birds. So that was a disease that was associated with migratory birds or commercial birds. And the reason is that now the outbreak was in cows, and this was the different, and why it got a lot of attention here in US, because since March 25, before this March 25, we had like the mysterious disease of Texas that nobody was aware what was happening. Nobody knew what was happening until March 25th. They decided to test it, and it was confirmed as influenza A virus H5N1. So this was on March, and by April 5th, you guys can see that what just started on Texas, now, like a week later, we had official confirmed farms in Idaho, Michigan, Ohio, where I am, Kansas City, New Mexico, right? So this like a widespread. And the reason why is because we have a lot of transit in terms of animals here in US. So a lot of those farms will be buying. That was the case for the Ohio farms. So we were here in Ohio and we were buying cows from Texas. So from Texas, they were transported to Ohio. And all of these transportation could be, like, it is a risk factor for those different states to be also confirmed with H5N1. So like transportation is huge here in Ohio, in US, and it's an important risk factor for the H5N1. So with those maps, what we can see is this is August, like the first on the left, upper left is in August, and we have 193 divided in 13 states. By October, we had 314 states. And today, the numbers are over 1,000, so we have 1,074 in 17 states. It is being a decline on numbers. We do not know if it's the disease that is fading out or what is what could be happening, that we don't have many farms being confirmed, officially confirmed now. But the fact is that we have more than 1,000 farms in over a year. So, and I will show you guys that most of them will be like by the colors you guys can see, like California and Idaho, being a heavy population dairy farm region, it is contributing a lot for those numbers to be higher. But this is what the producer was seeing. So one day they had nothing on his herd, and the next day this slip here is from a real Excel from a real farm, and each one of these lines, each one of these rows is a cow, and those red lines are very sick cows. Orange is sick cows, and yellow suspicious cows to be sick. So you can imagine how bad was the situation when the farmer will be seeing his cows or his farm showing all this on his screen. And what those cows were showing up, like the main point for those cows where they are seeing was decrease in milk production and decrease in feed consumption, other than fever and dehydration. So the cows were really sick. The appearance of those cows they were really, really sick. High fever, dehydration, and so I will like this. It's an example for a paper. And I have all the papers here for you guys to follow up if you want more information. But from this picture, we can see how sick those cows are, how dehydrated, and like the feed consumption and its decrease. So really sick appearance cows. Some of the secretion, contrary to poultry, where we have more than neurological and respiratory signs, in bovine, we didn't have much. It was more like a mastitis monomastitis, severe cases of mastitis, where you will be seeing the appearance of the milk much more like a colostrum. So it was thick and yellow compared to the normal milk. And sometimes it will be just 1/4 that will be affected. And this is the appearance of the milk. So we can clearly see how affected those mammary glands were. And here is the impact of the influenza on dairy cows. And this is an example. This is the study from the Ohio farm. So as I said, like we just had one confirmed official farm here. And those graphs, those data is from that farm. But just to confirm, like the rumination time and the milk production, and you see during the period of the disease, how decline and rapidly decline. And milk rumination time, it will be declining, and then he will be keeping up. The red one is those affected, and the blue ones is not affected. So after a period, the rumination time, like those cows will be back to eating. But if we compare to the milk production, the decline is very pronounced, and they do not come back to normal again. So, and this was like 67 days in this study, and you still see those gaps between the no clinical and clinical cases. And here I always invited people, when I showed this graph, I always invited people to be in the shoes from the manager or from the owner or for the veterinarian responsible for this farm, right? So and think about it, like in the first graph here, we are seeing the daily incidence. And over the course of the disease, like this is by day, and this farm is 3,000 cows. So in the first day, it was like 1%, another 1%, 1%, 1%. This is by day. So which means that we have like 30 cows being sick every day until to the peak of the disease that was almost like over 3%. So over 3%, it means in that farm, 100 cows has been sick every single day on top of everything that has been sick in the day before. So think about it, how we're going to be managing that farm, those cows, where we're going to be putting, if we have like a pen, a sick pen, at one time, those sick pens probably will be over crowded. And the days that those cows will be sick is around like 7 to 10 days. So we are not just like managing cows for 1 to 2 days. We're managing those sick cows for 7 to 10 days. So like, and they will be staying in a hospital for a long time, right? Like if they are sick for 7 to 10 days, they will be in a hospital for 7 to 10 days. If they are not dead. So if you have like those cows that you have to be treating those, and then you have to be dealing with those that are dying on your farm, you be sympathize how hard it is to manage a cow and how's the impact for this disease in a farm. Talking about is still on that farm, and those are the data from that farm. Like the seroprevalence was about 90% from the period that they did the study, and those subclinical infections as well. So even those asymptomatic cows were also seroprevalent, as the same as the dry cows, a little lower, like in terms of 40% of those cows were seroprevalent. But the importance of this is that they also were susceptible and can act as a reservoir of the virus. So during the period of the study period, 6 to 7 days, and they will be showing here like just the milk loss. So remember that graph that the cows will be drying, will be like the milk will be decreasing, it cannot come back. So these are the numbers, like they quantify and they have the numbers. So before those, the period for the start of the disease, they have like 6 kilos per day, but after the clinical diagnosis, this decrease will be like 18.8 kilos per day, which gives in a total for this only 6 to 7 days, about like 950 kilograms per cow, which by the milk price here is approximately 222 per cow. When we put together like the decreased milk production, mortality, early removal, this number goes up to 950 per clinically affected cow, which is a huge burn for the farm. And the infected cows, like we saw that the main clinical appearance for this disease will be like this clinical severe mastitis. And this is revealed here on the paper when they detected high levels of the virus in milk compared to the other biological samples that they have. So this will lead us to more research to understand why. And they saw that the influenza virus has a high affinity for certain receptors, these sialic acids, that it will vary according to the species. So the avian virus will be binding to the alpha 2.3 receptors. The human will be binding to the alpha 2.6 receptor. What happened in bovine is that we have both. Like, so that's probably will explain the high levels of virus that we have, because we have a lot of those receptors ready for those the virus at the mammary gland. So it was kind of like normal thinking to think about that it will be transmitted primarily through the mammary gland. And this is what this research shows, that since the mammary glands of cows are abundantly and they have display a lot of receptors, it is kind of like natural to think that it will be primarily for mammary gland, which leads us then to think about the disease transmission. Once we know more or less what's going on, let's see how this be transmitted. So I told you guys that, okay, we have a lot of receptors in mammary gland. They display a lot of the sick cows will display this mastitis. So it is normal to think that we will be like we can be putting like all our favors in terms of milking machine, right? But there's another paper. You just come and see, well, like the first signs that we have was not just being transmitted through milking machines. And that's why, like, we have two things that we can talk about it. One, it was spreading through the herd too quickly. So it might not be transmitted only through the equipment. We might have something else. And the second reason is, well, that some tests shows that we have antibodies and the blood before finding the virus in the milk. So it is proof that they have something else, other way of transmission. And this is another research that it comes like just to understand a little bit on that base. And they infected some cows with low infectious dose and see what happened. And trying to mimic what will be happening on the field with the contaminated equipment, milking equipment. And what they saw, it was like, despite they have using the low infectious dose that was able to cause disease, it was unable to recapitulate the transmission. So even using the contaminated equipment, they were not able to see the disease. Infected animals were not the disease in the other cow, which lead us to think that it might be something else rather than just like the milking machine. And this is a control, right? Like this is this work was done on BSL-3, so it's all control, and that might be the reason why. It might have been missing some other risk factors that at the farm level we have, that it will be enable the virus to be causing the disease. So another research was done then to see if those infected cows, so yes, we cannot mimic, like we are not able until now to know how those cows are being, the virus has been transmitted. But what about those cows that had already had the disease, and how do they change the behavior of that if they are reinfected? And this is the the paper trying to answer that question, where they have like 3 infected cows that show severe mastitis, and they show that they're shedding. So everything like was good, right? Like they have the challenge and the decline in daily milk as the case in the field. And what they showed was that protective immunity was observed. So here, for example, they have the CMT, and they have challenged just the rear limbs here, the quarters, and I had like the same same position, so it will be better for us to follow. But as the challenge goes, those CMTs will be positive, right? For cow number 6 was they had to be euthanasia on the euthanasia, doing the euthanasia on this cow, because they want to do like more histological comparison. In cow number 11, exactly the same results from cow number 4. So and after some days, they like here on the post. So here is better for us to see, like when they were re-exposuring those cows, what they saw, it was that the virus was localized to the infected udder, and the uninfected remained healthy. And after this, the reinfection in the other quarters, it will be causing no symptoms or no virus shedding, which led us to think that those cows were protected for this virus. And this is another paper that it will show us in terms of the question here. We will be concerned about food safety, right? Like what about those cows that are cold, they were positive and it were cold, what happened to those in the meat, that can, the presence of this H5N1 in meat, it might be a problem for us for the consumption in, and I will have the numbers a little later, but this paper in particular, they found that it's unclear if they have like the viremia, and because they found the virus in cereal and milk, but it's unclear which comes first, if it is the intramammary infections that is leading to viremia, or is viremia that's leading to infection, to the intramammary infection. But the concern of this, so this was not like very conclusive. So that's why I have this later for us to be talking about the concern for food safety in a little later. And it comes back now to the probable transmission. We still do not know. We talk about the milking machine, but we saw that there's evidences that it might not be just the milking machine. So what it is, we still do not know. And this is one of the first infographics that CDC has, and it's probably valid until now. We know that there is some roots between like the wild bird to the cows. This is possible, causing the initial infection. Cow to cow, it happens, but we do not know how. Cows to chicken, it might. Cows to cats, it is possible, and we will talk a little bit later. Cows to human, it is also possible, and we do not have until like a human to human, which will be like a good thing for us not to have like a human to human, which will means that the virus is adapting to humans. So since we do not have like the transmission, what we can be working with is some risk factors, right? And those risk factors, one, like we already talked about it, the animal movements, and we know that those are very important, and it's happening. The second one will be visitors, share vehicles and equipment, share workers, and the local wildlife and peridomestic species. This is a good reading, like it's a little lengthy, like 30 pages, more or less, I can't remember exactly, but it is a good summary from those risk factors and explains really well what happened. But at the same time, well, like it's not a surprise for us, like the works with the dairy cows, that animals movement is happening and it's still like it will be happening. Visitors, share vehicles and equipment. This is inherent to the dairy, right? Like the milk truck needs to come every single day if it's not, depending on the size of the farm. But this is routine. And workers here in the US, we do have a labor problem. So sometimes it's difficult to find labor, and those workers will be sometimes sharing different farms, but between farms like dairy. And in this case, they identified farmers that were able to be working on not just dairy, but flocks as well, in poultry as well, which increased the risk. And then lead us like to the control. Like this is a picture of a real farm here in Ohio, where you guys can see like the bovine, like the barn for the cows, with some chicken besides them. And these are bird like houses, like wild bird houses, because and I asked the producer why he has that, and he has it because the answer was, I do have a fly problem, so attracting those birds, they will be controlling my fly problem. So it's the fly management is just attracting flies. So how you control something like that, it is really challenging, right? And that's why like boosting surveillance, enhancing biosecurity to prepare for a potential human-to-human viral transmission was a topic for this paper, where like the top leading virologists get together and said, well, if we do not do anything, those are the things that could be happening, right? Like we have to be preparing for a potential human-to-human. So it's not that we are not doing anything, like there is an enhanced testing that helping to combat this H5N1. And this is the national milk testing strategy, which like trying to boost those surveillance, which will be like having those cows, the milk from those cows goes to the bulk tank. The bulk tank, then it's combined to big silos. Those silos will be tested. And then inside those silos, we will have different farms. If one of those silos is positive, then will be individual tests for individual farms to be identifying which farm it will be the positive one. So with that, we were able to identify, but until now, we have just the dominant variant that was affecting the dairy cattle. That was the B313. And with that surveillance, it was detected the D1.1, which it was linked to a more severe human cases. So until now, we have the only sign for the workers it was conjunctivitis. For the humans was conjunctivitis. And with this D1.1, we have 2 severe cases and 1 with death here in US. So it will be something for us to keep an eye and see like the development or the change of this virus. So today, as I mentioned, we have more than 1,000 herds, but only 41 human cases was linked to cow exposure out of total of 70 cases in total here in US. So again, no human-to-human transmission was confirmed. So that's why like the current public health risk by CDC is still low. But the influenza, and it leads us, like you guys probably saw, the shortage of egg that we were going here in the US, and not just the shortage, because sometimes you were to the grocery store and we were not able to find any eggs, or we were just able to buy like a dozen, like 1 cart, like a dozen eggs, or you were able to pay for what I was paying, for example, $3. This number goes like to $10 for the egg. So really, like the food, it's not related to milk, right? Like for the cows, but it's just like to give us a perspective of how important it was like this outbreak. And we were talking about milk, and we were seeing this at the supermarket. So the consumer was kind of like linking this problem with the milk as well. So I told you guys that I will show you the numbers from like the perspective for the meat, and these are the numbers that CDC will give us, the FSIS, I'm sorry, it will give us, which is the inspection service here in US. Out of 582 muscle samples, only one it was indicated a positive. So again, very like safe, like the meat is still safe. But we're still talking about like same for milk, the not consumption of raw milk and the pasteurized milk only, and cooking the beef at recommended temperatures to inactivate the virus. This is to show that we come from like those wild birds to commercial birds, and now in cows. But at the farm level, we were seeing a lot of those cats being sick and dying as well. So the research was done, and they said that they were seeing that cats are very susceptible to H5N1 as well. But what worries is that with time, those animals are getting closer and closer to us, right? Like from the wild birds to the commercial poultry, where we do not have much interaction, to the cows that we interacted 2-3 times a day, or like every single day, and then cats that we have inside our home. So that's the worry about this human spillover. And we all know that like globalization is something that, right, like it is there. I'm hoping that this will be contained just in US, and it will be an exception. And this is not going to be like for you guys, it's not going to be a problem, hopefully. But we always have to say that it's not the matter of if, it's the matter of when, right? So hopefully this will be giving you guys an overview for what we went through here, and to open a little bit the eyes for our colleagues in the other parts of the world. With that, I'll thank you so much. I left here my email and my Instagram. This is our school here, and with that, I be open for questions and discussion. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much, Luciana.
More than welcome.
Very good presentations. Kalina and Luciana, his presentation so well, is amazing. But I have some questions here. I think the John again. The Eve say about the risk use the protein manner in cow's feed.
Say that again, Ricardo.
The Eve say the risk of they use the poultry manure in cow's feed. I think it's the same in Brazil, but it's not prohibited not to use the product of the because the BSC problem.
Yes, yeah. So as I said, like we do not know from where, but there's a lot of possibilities, and one of them it was coming from the feed. And from where, like the feed, contaminated feed from where? If it's from poultry, commercial poultry, or wild birds, it's still like yeah, it's still in the air. Like we do not know. Like we cannot say. And that's the problem, right? Because if you do not know from where it comes, it's very difficult to control. And that's probably it's the biggest challenge that we have for this disease right now. It is not knowing and not being able to experimentally on the lab, trying to mimic and understand a little bit better from where this disease is coming from. So
John talk about the tip posters at their products, but I think in our presentation you talk about this. If you have a treatment, the heat a treatment of the dairy, the milk, I think you're killing the virus, no?
Yes, yes. So pasteurization will kill the virus, but a lot of the questions that we have is from those farms that do not have the pasteurizer. For example, what do they do? And so this, and again, like this might be another topic for a huge discussion. Pasteurization, yes, will kill sometimes, but they will not do pasteurize, and they will be feeding to the calves. And the interesting thing is there is a paper as well that they have done that. They fed some contaminated low infection dose to calves, and the calves did not develop the disease. So it seems that this disease is really for lactating cows, because dry cows, they have the seroprevalence, but they are not sick. They do not, they are symptomatic. So it seems to be a disease for lactating cows. On those, though, the discard of those milks, they can be doing some, like they put in disinfectant to inactivate the virus as well, and then they can put it on a like drain, out of the drain or in the environment, like just to try to kill the virus, because that was another concern, right? Like you have this contaminated milk, and then we would be like dropping on a field or in a drain. So it goes to a place, some places. But I do not remember exactly now what is the concentration of those disinfectants, but I can reach out, like, and see, and I can share with you all. But yeah, that's the thing, that's the how they were doing it, like the high volume of milk and trying to destroy the virus on those milk. But interesting is that the calves do not get the disease. So
I have some question.
Sure.
Related. Have you ever made any research about the influence and when the heifers drink this milk from contaminated cows? Because usually when you feed the heifers, you do not pasteurize the milk.
Yeah.
It's raw milk. So is there any research in this relation?
Yeah, the only research that I know is that that I just mentioned, but it was calves. So not like heifers, like later on a development, right? Like calves. I can't remember exactly the age of those calves, but again, it was done on BSL-3. It was like on a lab condition.
Mm-hmm.
At the field, what we heard from talking with other veterinarians is that the heifers are not affected. Like they can be drinking if there's any drink left, if there's any milk left, right? Because the decrease of milk production becomes like really drastic. But if it's just affecting one quarter, for example, and she will be able to reach the other, or it will be able to drink the milk from the other quarter, even if it's an infected cow, those heifers do not get sick. So it seems to be really like with lactating cows, and mostly second lactation cows are the ones that are more prone to have the disease.
Mm-hmm. So simply,
a lot of questions
there are not reports over sick heifers.
Not that I know. I'm trying to remember here if talking with veterinarians, they always mention like the cows, not the heifers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
at
very
least
interesting.
the ones that yeah.
That's very interesting, no? Isn't it?
It is. It
yes.
is.
And some other thing I observed that in those 3 cases that you showed, in the hind, I mean the formed quarters, not affected. Absolutely none of them. That also calls attention.
This one, right?
Yes, this one. Yes, one.
Yeah. So you see, like this, the challenge it was done on the hind limb, and the front limb doesn't have any affection at all. Anything. So here is really to show that they are very independent. Like the quarters are very independent.
Number 11, you see, it's all of them are contaminated, and
Yep.
the hind ones, but not the forwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like what this, that first picture, this one. So it will be more or less like this picture. Like this will be affected and this is not.
Mm.
Right? Like it kind of like this explains this picture. I don't know. Like I'm just like, but thinking about that research and applying on this picture here, this is what I'm seeing. Like the virus might be here from it's on this gland and not on this.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
It's my guess. But it is interesting. It is interesting.
Yes.
And this was the first thing that we saw, like a viral mastitis, right? Like usually mastitis, we will be putting like a bacteria cause and not virus, right? But this is really like a mastitis, a severe case of mastitis, because they will be dropping production and the appearance of the milk, it will be more or less like colostrum milk. Very thick, very dense, very yellow, and with those flocks and blood. So, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Thank you very much.
No, more than welcome. Thank you.
There are some other questions. Ricardo, if you want to go through.
Arcangelo, now I have a problem.
What is
Huh.
it?
Because I have a lot of questions about the vaccines, about the European
But
strain.
go through the questions that are in the chat, not you.
No,
Okay.
on the chat is for the chat. The
On the
questions.
chat.
Yeah, the chat have a lot of questions.
I know.
Can you talk about, Luciana, about the vaccines?
Well,
Yes.
yeah. The vaccines has been like a huge like debate here, not just for the efficacy of the vaccine, which we do not know because we don't have a vaccine for dairy, but for the market and a lot of the how could I say this like lightly, but the administration nowadays doesn't seem to see a vaccination as an important way for us to be controlling disease. So there's no incentive for a development of vaccine right now. In the past, I think we always had like there were 7 different industries or labs, but nowadays we don't have any. It was we draw, and we don't have any perspective of having a vaccine for now. If the incidence in no dairy cattle and no milking dairy breeds, so I think we already like touch base on this one. I'm seeing the questions here, Ricardo, if you don't mind. So the incidence in no dairy cattle breeds and no milking dairy breeds, if I'm understanding correctly, the question is for those heifers cows and calves. So we don't have problems with that. No milking, no dairy, so it will be meat. We don't have the incidence is very low. We are not seeing it has been tested, but we are not seeing the disease on beef. So it is really a disease that will be affecting lactating cows the most. What type of measure do you apply in infected herds? So the control is like for measures that we apply. I don't have any farm, right? So this is a very controlled. All of this has been done with the veterinarian of record for that farm, plus the officials, and what the way that they constrict, like they restrict access. You cannot be selling any cows from that farm, the positive farms, for 30 days. So nothing goes out, and you inside that farm, biosecurity is enhanced. Some of the farmers will have the incentive to have more PPE, like more protective equipment for the workers. So they might be using like in COVID style. They will be using goggles or masks. trying to protect themselves against those viruses. And what else? Like limiting visitors. This is right, like the protocol, like limiting visitors, but nothing. I guess like the difference, it will be more on the restriction of animals being moved from that positive farms. Are beef steers or cows affected? Not that we know, like it has been tested, and until now, beef has been negative or very low, positive, but very low. So it is not like a beef concern. Is there any active outbreak currently? As I show you guys, well, I think very educative. Making efforts to reduce the bacterial count of milk and reduce the prevalence of mastitis in dairy. Yeah, so making the efforts of reduce the bacterial count of milk, reduce the prevalence of mastitis. This will be working on bacteria. Mastitis, because you know the source, right? But in this case, it's a virus that we do not know from where it's coming. So that is what makes a little bit more difficult. Is milk from infected herds allowed to be used for raw milk cheese? No. Well, it is being allowed. Let me think about that. CDC does not enforce any use of raw milk. So yeah, I'll stay with that. In areas where it first seen, what clinical findings should we be suspicious of in except milk problem? I don't think like we will have in, well, you can be seeing like birds that are dead, right? But I guess the more drastic it is seeing the drop on the milk production because it drops abruptly in a lot of cows. So it is something that you cannot miss. Right? It is not something that it comes with time. No, that's what I kept that first one of the slides with the producer, like the figure of the producer, because it is like that. Like you don't have anything today, and then we will have a lot of sick cows at the same time. So I guess to be suspicious, the clinical finding will be like the mastitis. Severe cases of mastitis in a large number of cows. If is there any active outbreak currently? Yes, we still have the outbreak. Numbers are getting lower. Official numbers are getting lower, and that is like we can be thinking about maybe people are not reporting anymore, or maybe those cows have already been infected and it might not be reinfected. So this is another possibility. But we still on a active outbreak, although the numbers has been declining compared to the last year. Are the US H5N1 virus genotypes identical to those in Europe, or do they differ internationally? So we have different epidemiology. For what I was reading is the same one. So there's like the clade that I show and the 313 and D1+1, it might be the same ones that you have, but these are in cows, right? In poultry, I do not know. So since you guys do not have in cows, hopefully you won't have, we won't know if it will be identical or not. But from what I've read and this might be, it's the virus will not, well, and I'm not a virologist. So if we have a virologist and I'm talking wrong here, like just correct me. But from what I hear, from what I talk, these genotypes, it might be identical. It could be spread all over the world. So that's my take on that. So Andrea, oh, thank you, Andrea. No, they are different, but European could experimentally infect milk cows reproducing the same symptoms. Okay, thank you. Yes. So Andrea, if you could.
Andrea.
Sorry, could you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe you can hear me or not.
Yes, yes.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I work in the Ministry of Health of Italy in the veterinary services, and so we have had a meeting 1 month ago with the European Commission where we discuss the situation in US, and then what is the situation in Europe. And we had a long discussion with the expert, and they told us that the virus is the same clade, but the genotype is different. So what is circulating in EU is not the same virus. But they told us that in Germany they performed a trial. They infected cows with our genotype virus circulating in Europe, and they infected the cows, and the symptoms were equal to US. So exactly the same. Even the genotype is not the same. It's not so it's different, and doesn't circulate in European Union. But anyway, we are preparing for surveillance the beginning of September, when the risk period will start for Italy or for other member states. So we are, thank you very much for your presentation, because we're very helpful for us.
Good.
And so they told us this, the virus is different, but the trial gave the same results. So even the same clade could give the same symptoms.
So
That's it.
just to understand you better, Andrea, like the virus is the same, clade is the same, as genotype that is different. Is that correct? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because the genotype, it makes sense, because until now we have just like the 3.13, and then like they will be reassorting, and then probably why we have now the T1.1. So I guess that's the worry about those virus being reassorted and being causing more severe cases, where is the case for D1.1, right? So, well, thank you, yeah, for the clarifying. We'll see.
Luciana,
Yes.
I put your Instagram. I think the people can send to you the more questions.
Sure. Yeah. I
yes,
will have to
because
go back. I will have to
yes, it's
look
good.
at my
It's good.
Instagram, which is
It's
not.
good to increase your Instagram.
I don't use
have
it.
a lot
I
of
don't use it
questions.
much. But like, yes, you guys can send me through the Instagram, or can send me to my email. That's probably
Email.
better, because I will be
Yes,
I'm
because
trying to
you can imagine, you know, Arcangelo, you can pass all the day discuss about the Brazilian, because Brazil is so interesting, no?
But you are not a very good friend of Luciana, because now you have challenging her with further question on Instagram.
Yeah, no.
Can you see destroy all the questions in the only the 10 minutes? Very is a very good topic. I have a lot of discuss about this.
I think we have reached 1.5 hours. Therefore, I think we can start to close the webinar. So I am really thankful to our two speakers, Kalina and Luciana, as mentioned by Ricardo and indicated in the chat. Very good testimonials for Brazil. I am happy for that, and we have learned also that Brazil is one of the more. We already knew this, but we were confirmed that Brazil is one of the most important countries in Buiatrics, both in production but also in the scientific part. And therefore, I would like to again thank Kalina and Luciana for the time that devoted to us. I thank all the attendants, all the participants, and yeah, I am very happy for this afternoon, and I wish you the best for the next months. Looking forward to organize another webinar of the World Association for Buiatrics. Therefore, I think we can we can quit the today webinar. Thanks to everybody. Many greetings to all over the world, wherever you are, and see you soon. Thank you again, Luciana.